There are currently 6 draft-eligible college quarterbacks that if I'm Omar Khan, the Pittsburgh Steelers GM, I am considering taking in round 1 of the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, to be clear, I'm not sure if all 6 of these guys are going to be coming out next year. Most of them are eligible to return to school in 2026, so we'll see exactly how many of these guys end up coming out in the draft. But I wanted to talk about all these guys that could go round 1 here today. I've got 3 guys that I would definitely take in round 1 if I'm the Steelers, 3 guys that I would consider taking in round 1 if I'm the Steelers, and then a couple of guys that I don't consider round 1 guys right now that could potentially get in the conversation as the college football season continues to roll on. Before we get into some college football talk today here on Steelers Talk, make sure you guys go ahead and get down there in the comments section and get us started. Do you think Pittsburgh should go quarterback in round 1 for next year? Give me a yes if you think they should go out and get their franchise quarterback of the future, or type no if you think that quarterback in Will Howard is already here in the Steel City. All right, now let's get into my 3 tiers that we're going to be talking about today. Number 1, a definite round 1 quarterbacks, the guys that I would definitely take with a first-round pick. Tier 2 guys, a little more raw, kind of potential round 1 guys that might need some time to sit on the bench. And then Tier 3, guys that I don't consider round 1 dudes right now, but could potentially get in. So we'll start with Tier 1, and like I said, guys, these are the guys that I could certainly spend a first-round pick on, and I would even be open to starting right away for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So in this scenario, like for example, you have Aaron Rodgers retire at the end of the year, and you don't want to bring in a veteran to start over a rookie right away. You want somebody that can come in and be relatively ready to play in the National Football League from the jump. And we'll start with who I believe is the most pro-ready quarterback in college football right now. He's already operating a pro-style offense at Alabama under Ryan Grubb, and that is Ty Simpson, the redshirt junior out of Bama. And people forget, man, Ty Simpson was a 5-star athlete as a dual-threat quarterback, so he can move. He's got some nice play creation outside the pocket as well, but what makes him special, man, is his ability to read defenses and target the middle of the field specifically and be so precise targeting the middle of the field. All right, to only have 1 interception on the season, throwing the ball over the middle of the field as much as he does, that points to his accuracy, that points to his precision, that points to his mental processing, and his 1 interception wasn't even over the middle of the field. It was on an out-breaking route. So this is the most proficient over-the-middle quarterback in the national football or in college football right now. He's completing 70% of his passes. And by the way, these are not like dinking and dunking type of style of offense. This is throw the ball down the field, intermediate digs, deep digs, all these types of big boy NFL caliber throws. And he's completing 70% of his passes, ladies and gentlemen. He's got 18 touchdowns, just 1 interception. He is having the best season of any college quarterback this season, in my opinion. He should be the front runner to be the Heisman Trophy winner. And I think that if you're looking for somebody that can operate a pro-style offense right away, like the Steelers might be wanting next year if Aaron Rodgers retires, Ty Simpson is the guy out of all these quarterbacks we're going to talk about today that I would trust to start an NFL game right now. But then we get to Dante Moore, the redshirt sophomore out of Oregon. Super talented arm, quick release, calm demeanor. He just looks, and he just aesthetically on the TV screen, man, he just looks like a franchise quarterback, all right? And I love that calm demeanor. He really stayed calm in the whiteout game against Penn State, and that team faced a lot of adversity late in that game. Penn State rallied late, and that raucous environment in overtime, he made a number of big-time plays out of structure, and he really carried that Oregon offense at times. I didn't think their offensive game plan was all that great, and he's shown flashes of some really good progression style stuff in this Oregon offense this year. He's got very calm feet. He's got terrific arm talent with a really quick and fluid release that you want to see from your future franchise guy. Is he as pro-ready as, say, a guy like Ty Simpson? I would say probably not at this point, but, he's shown a lot more than a lot of college quarterbacks coming out already. And if he wants to come out, and according to my sources at the Oregon program, like they're setting Dante Moore up to leave this year because they have a backup quarterback in Oregon right now that they want to start next season. It's looking to me like Dante Moore could be a really high draft pick. I mean, even Mel Kiper Jr. has him as his number 1 prospect in the class this year for a reason. But then Fernando Mendoza certainly deserves a lot of love as well. The redshirt junior out of Indiana has been slinging it this year. He does such a good job layering the football over the middle of the field, all three levels of the middle of the field as well. He has made some big-time throws and some big boy throws that make you go, wow, this year. He's got great size. He's got a cannon. He can throw the ball to the field side. He can do a lot of really fun stuff with his arm. And, he reminds me a lot of Jared Goff coming out of Cal. Just the physical skill set where, he's not going to do too much like out of structure playmaking. His throwing motion is a little bit stiff. It's not as like elastic where you're going to see him throw like sidearm and all these different stuff that we see, a lot of the leagues like superstar level guys do. But Jared Goff, man, is a hell of a quarterback. He's a borderline top 10 guy in this league. He can be very productive with the right supporting cast, as he's proven over the last several years in Detroit. And the Steelers have a pretty darn good supporting cast. So you can put Mendoza in here. I think he could learn this Shanahan style or like old school Shanahan style offense that Arthur Smith wants to run here in Pittsburgh pretty quickly. I think he's a smart dude, and I think that he's a pretty quality quarterback prospect that I would be willing to spend a draft pick on if I'm the Steelers. Now, my guess is all three of these quarterbacks are going to come out this year. And we'll talk about some of the reasons why later in today's show. And, even though all three of these guys can go back to school, I think, if you have an opportunity to go round one and specifically in the top 10 of the draft, you don't waste that opportunity. And I think all three of these guys right now are worthy of top 10 picks at this point in time. Now, you might be saying, but Jack, the Steelers are not going to be drafting in the top 10. So why are we even talking about these guys? Well, that's certainly true, and I do expect the Steelers to, have a good season this year, be at least drafting in the 20s. Hopefully we're talking about them drafting in the 30s, but I won't get ahead of myself, all right? But if that's the case, the good news is, you can definitely trade, and you can definitely trade up, okay? You can trade up just like the Kansas City Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes all those years back, where, remember, the Chiefs were sitting at 27th, all right? They were a very good football team with an established veteran quarterback in Alex Smith, and they traded 17 spots all the way up to the 10th overall pick to take, the greatest quarterback in their franchise's history, and according to some people, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football, all right? So it's certainly a possibility for the Steelers, especially with all the draft picks that they have stockpiled, to get a trade package to move up for one of these guys. If they love Ty Simpson, or if they love Dante Moore, if they love Fernando Mendoza, and there's a team in the top 10, or maybe, before, the first 12 picks, maybe if one of these guys escapes the top 10, that's willing to trade down, I would expect the Steelers to be one of the most aggressive teams to go get their guy at the top of this class. So who's QB1 right now in the 2026 QB class? Give me a TS for Ty Simpson, a DM for Dante Moore, type FM for Fernando Mendoza. Or if there's somebody else that you think is the number one quarterback in this class, let me know who that is down there in the comment section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Omaha Stakes. And while I tell you about Omaha Stakes today, let me know who QB1 in this class is right now. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Omaha Stakes, which is the official sponsor of tailgating this football season. From legendary burgers to mouth-watering steaks, deli-style franks, and so much more, you'll elevate your next game day get-together with America's original butcher. And now with our exclusive code, you guys can get $35 off at omahasteaks.com with promo code STEELERS at checkout. Terms apply, and see site for details, but Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917. All right, every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. Grass-fed, grain-finished beef has more marbling for exceptional flavor and is the choice of steakhouses and professional chefs around the world. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, and seafood. Plus, you get delectable desserts if you have a little bit of a sweet tooth like Cassie and I have. Now, we love to get Omaha Steaks boxes because we like to try different things. We like to try, of course, the steaks that we love to have at least twice a week at our home, but also chicken, pork. The chicken wings are really good. The burgers are excellent for your cookout, or, like I said, chicken wings for, if you're sitting down watching the Steelers play, right? So make game day delicious with the official sponsor of tailgating this football season with our friends at omahasteaks.com. Visit omahasteaks.com and get $35 off at promo code STEELERS at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and promo code STEELERS at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. And a big thank you to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now let's get into my second tier of quarterback prospects here, which is the raw round one developmental type guys. Some guys that are, have a really big surplus of intriguing physical talent and star potential. And let's face it, guys, in the AFC with Drake May and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, you need to have a really talented quarterback if you're going to, be consistently competing for Super Bowls in this conference. But maybe they're not the most developed as passers yet and could use a year learning behind a veteran quarterback. And this is really only tenable for me, guys. I'm only considering these guys if, say, Aaron Rodgers comes back for another year and he's your starting quarterback. These guys I'm not really comfortable at all starting in year one. That is if they come out in the draft this year. And I would really want, an established veteran quarterback, whoever that is, to be in front of them and for that starter to play the entire season so that this quarterback can sit, learn, and not have any pressure to play in their rookie season. We'll start with Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. There was a lot of hope that Sellers was going to really take that big leap forward and be a Heisman Trophy candidate and really, take college football by storm and be the number one overall pick. And listen, man, a guy of Sellers is just pure physical talent, could very easily still go in the top 10, if not the top 5, just based on the potential alone, all right? The arm talent, the pocket presence, some of the playmaking instincts out of structure, and, of course, the rushing ability, the contact balance. I mean, he just has a skill set and a tool set that you just can't teach. Now, the accuracy, the mental processing speed, all that different stuff, it needs a lot of work, all right? And that's exactly why I would consider taking him with a first-round pick, but I would want to sit him for at least a year. And if you give Lenore Sellers a year to sit, learn, and not have any pressure to play, while Aaron Rodgers tries to, take this team to a championship and presumably his final season and Cam Hayward's final season, by the way, then, Lenore Sellers, after a year learning from one of the all-time smartest quarterbacks in the league, can then take the reins as this team's franchise quarterback. And he has the kind of talent where if he hits, he can be, the Josh Allen, the Lamar Jackson, the Joe Burrow, the Patrick Mahomes of this organization, all right? So, we'll see where it ends up going, whether or not he even comes out in the draft. He could certainly come back to school for one more season if he wishes, and maybe that's the best plan for him, but he's draft eligible, and if he comes out, I would be interested in him if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then let's talk about another redshirt junior here, and John Mateer from Oklahoma. Now, Mateer also has a long ways to go in, his mental processing speed and specifically his accuracy. He has a lot of overthrows, and especially when you're throwing the ball over the middle of the field, if you're overthrowing those kinds of passes, that's going to lead to a lot of interceptions, especially in the National Football League. So Mateer has a really, interesting sidearm type release. Reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert, the way that he throws the ball with that kind of sidearm release. But he's also really good running the football as well. He has really great flashes of anticipation on his film, which leads me to believe that, he can process at a high level, or at least he has the potential to do it more consistently. But he needs to find that consistency, right? So bringing in a guy with this much talent to learn, once again, a year under Aaron Rodgers' wing is something I would definitely be interested in if he comes out. But again, he could come back to school. And then Sam Leavitt, another redshirt junior here, this time from Arizona State. Leavitt is an absolute dog. He has that competitive fire with him. I love watching him play because every time he makes a big play or one of his teammates makes a big play, he is screaming. He's on the sideline pumping up his guys. And, I would love to watch Sam Leavitt be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It's not just the way he plays the game, but how he plays the game in terms of his physical talent. Like, he is a phenomenal out-of-structure playmaker. He's got great playmaking instincts. His arm talent is unreal. He can make these crazy off-platform throws with ease. And then also, he's a terrific runner of the football, guys, all right? Like, don't get it twisted now. He reminds me a little bit. I don't think he's quite as dynamic, but he reminds me in the style of runner that he is kind of a slender, taller quarterback. He reminds me a little bit of Jaden Daniels in that regard. I don't know if that's the Arizona State thing, but there's a certain thing with Jaden's game where he's got this little slippery effect where he can stay balanced but avoid rushers at the same time. Sam Leavitt has that same exact trait, and if he can just corral the accuracy, corral the mental processing stuff, spends a year learning under Aaron Rodgers, I think Sam Leavitt has the talent to be a really, really fun quarterback in this league and somebody that can win a lot of football games, and he's got the competitive spirit that Mike Tomlin, if he's still head coach here, absolutely loves. And the Steelers have already watched a number of Leavitt's games this year. So they clearly like him. But every quarterback that I just talked about in Tier 2, Sellers, Mateer, and then, of course, Levitt, these guys, can benefit from a year under Aaron Rodgers' mentorship. Just like Patrick Mahomes, who was extremely raw coming out of Texas Tech, really developed and really benefited from a year underneath, Alex Smith. And then also, Jordan Love benefited greatly from learning from Rodgers for multiple years in Green Bay. We've already seen Rodgers develop and help, along these kind of younger quarterbacks. And if you can get a big-time physical talent in there to learn from him for a year, and then he takes the reins over in 2027, honestly, that might be the ideal setup for the Pittsburgh Steelers to find their next franchise quarterback, and this time not have it be for just a 1 or 2 year stretch. However, the Tier 2 guys, like I said, are more likely to go back to school, all right, because, they could use a little bit more development, and maybe they don't want to sit for an entire year behind Aaron Rodgers. They probably want to play. These guys are competitive dudes. They want to play football while also developing, so they might choose to go back to school, all right? But there is a big risk in doing that, in my opinion. And we'll talk about that later in the show here. But make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you enjoy our in-depth coverage of the Pittsburgh Steelers every single day on this channel. Today we're focusing on college football, not Steelers football. But if you enjoy our coverage on this show, keeping you guys updated on the very latest surrounding the black and gold, we have weekly live shows. We're going to be going live on Sunday for Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus Packers. We have over 100,000 subscribers here on Steelers Talk. We are the largest individually run Steelers news program anywhere on the YouTube platform, and that's all thanks to you guys. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and join our family today. Now, my third tier on today's video is non-round one guys yet. And what I mean by that is these are guys that could still convince me that they could be first-round guys if they really play well down the stretch. But, they haven't seen enough from them this year, at least not yet, for me to put them in that conversation. The two guys I want to talk about here are Garrett Nussmeier, the redshirt senior out of LSU. All right, so he's an older guy. And then Jaden Mayava, the redshirt junior from USC. Okay, and Nussmeier is somebody that came in very highly touted. He was somebody that was in consideration to be the first overall pick even. He uses the Cognalize VR goggles that LSU uses to get their quarterbacks to see the game better, and he had a really good season last year. He threw a little bit too many interceptions last year, but he could mentally process a defense and get the ball to his guys really well. This year it hasn't been as much. The accuracy has taken a dip, in my opinion, and then also the interceptions have been here to stay. He's a really aggressive passer, but honestly, I'm not sure if Mike Tomlin would love Nussmeier's kind of reckless style of play. Usually likes quarterbacks that protect the football. And then Mayava, with Lincoln Riley guys, a lot of them have worked out in the National Football League, but he doesn't bring a whole lot out of structure. I don't know if he has special arm talent. I think he mentally processes the defense pretty well, but then again, it's a very air raidy college-style offense there at USC. I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to fully transition to the NFL game. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on both these guys as the season goes on, and I'm intrigued by both of them. But right now, I do not consider them round one talents, at least with my evaluation at this point. Now, of the 8 quarterbacks that we talked about on my list today, only one, and that's Garrett Nussmeier, has to come out this year. And if all of these guys go back to school and we're left with Nussmeier and Carson Beck and Cade Klubnik, some guys we haven't even talked about on today's show, it's going to be a really rough class. All right, Will Howard it is in that scenario, okay? But, I think after the Drew Aller experience this year, where Aller could have been a first-round pick if he would have came out last year with his status, it wasn't a great quarterback class. Aller has a lot of arm talent. He had a pretty darn good end to his season last year at Penn State. He would have been a first-round pick, in my opinion, if he would have came out. He goes back to school because he could have. He wanted to try and give Penn State a national championship, and he doesn't play well. He's 1 year older now, and now he's injured. And he's got a very serious injury, and that's going to affect his draft stock. So now he goes from somebody that's going to be a first-round pick, franchise quarterback, get all the opportunities in the world to prove yourself, to somebody that's probably going to be a day 3 draft pick, if I'm being completely honest. He's got some of that arm talent. Somebody's going to take a shot on him, but the mental processing stuff hasn't been good. The accuracy hasn't been good. The decision-making hasn't been good for Aller. And frankly, he's played his worst ball in some of the biggest moments of his college career, and that's not good. So, I think that these redshirt juniors need to be careful with going back for another year. And there's a lot of redshirt juniors on the list today, all right? So, if you want to go back to school for one more year, you feel like you can really develop, okay, but I would say proceed with caution. If you're projected to be a first-round pick, and especially like a top 15 pick, you got to take advantage of that opportunity, in my opinion. And because of that, I think some of these guys are smarter to make the same mistake Drew Aller made this year. I think we end up getting 4 to 6 first-round quarterbacks this season. I don't know what combination of guys are coming out versus staying. We'll see what ends up happening over the next several months. But I think at the end of the day, somewhere between 4 to 6 college quarterbacks will be first-round picks in the NFL draft in Pittsburgh next spring. So predict it for me down there in the comment section to finish up today's show. How many quarterbacks go in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft? I think it's somewhere between 4 to 6. I'm not exactly sure the number in terms of my answer there, but I think it's somewhere between 4 and 6. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors and Draft News and Rumors. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.